Okay, so first off, this is just kind of the basics to start everybody off this week. Remember, you can get free trials. So anybody that has friends or anything interested in trying the trading group out, you can get a free trial at daytradersfx.com. Just clicking right up here, a little 5-day free trial. Okay, so the calendar for this week is as follows. You can see we had a little bit of news on Sunday, nothing too crazy. Today we have a little bit of Aussie news coming up. It's a U.S. and Canadian holiday. I didn't actually know it was a Canadian holiday. Oh, it's Thanksgiving for Canada still. Okay, I thought that was more over the weekend, but I guess it carries over on Monday. So very good. Once again, happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadian folk in here. Happy Thanksgiving. And it's also a bank holiday in the U.S., so the markets were kind of just doing nothing as far as U.S. markets go. So it's Columbus Day here in the U.S. So that's all that. I bet Thanksgiving here in the States, we always say you get that turkey coma. Do you guys eat turkey? Is that a Canadian Thanksgiving tradition? Because we always get down with just crazy amounts of turkey. And then turkey always has that one steroid in it or whatever that makes you tired afterwards. Maybe that's just here in the U.S. that we poison our turkeys. I'm actually vegetarian, so I haven't had a turkey for a lot of Thanksgivings. Yeah, the tryptophan. There you go. That's the bad, and that's the sleepy stuff. So I avoid that by staying away from the turkeyness altogether, but you do get that food coma afterwards where you just need to lay flat on your back for about 6 hours and try to recover. So it's always fun. Thanksgiving's fun. It's a good holiday. So happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadian people in here. We got a couple of them. Coming up in about 1 hour, we have the monetary policy meeting minutes for Canada. And yes, Steve, I do get down with the fish, that's for sure. So this could be, as always, anytime we have anything central bank related, it can move. It has the potential of moving things a lot. So let's just keep that in mind. We're going to talk about a couple of setups on the Australian dollar and Aussie yen pairs that could, cause a little bit of action. So monetary policy meeting minutes today in 1 hour, so keep that in mind. Coming into tomorrow, we have the CPI, which can be a bit of a mover for the pound. So we're going to talk about a couple of setups there, and we'll have some pending orders to go to sleep to. And then we have the German ZU, which is also, a fairly decent mover. And then tomorrow, this is going to impact our trade ideas as well, because we have the CPI for New Zealand, and there's a pretty good little New Zealand setup. Going into Wednesday, we have employment numbers for the UK, as well as manufacturing sales for Canada. And then Thursday, retail sales for the UK. That's always a big mover. That's got a good history of big movement. Unemployment claims for the US, Philly Fed manufacturing index for the US. Some central bank stuff for Australia once again. A little bit of Chinese news. And then going into Friday, we have the core CPI for Canada. So we have a pretty decent schedule this week. Not a ton of news, not a super small amount. It's just kind of, a medium amount. So we'll have plenty of pending orders going into the nighttime. My genius idea of stay up half the night and then trade all morning and day, although it was a good idea for trying to get more action out of the markets, it kind of turned me into a zombie, so I will not be doing that this week. We'll just be starting our sessions at the typical 4 a.m., which is a good time to be up and at it, but no middle of the night action for me this week. There's always possibilities that I might do it next week or the following week or whatever, but definitely not this coming week. So that is that. There was my setup for the pound yen. We'll talk a little bit more about that. You can see if you here's where I post everything. If you hit the old fast forward button, you can see that ended up turning out pretty well. How do I get this watch list out of the way? Whoops, hold on here. There we go. So pretty nice little move on that one. That was a good little breakout, and it continued up pretty nicely from there. So if you got that, and that's once again another reason why you need to follow me on Twitter, because I'll send these things out sometimes randomly from my phone, from the road, from wherever, and it's a good way to just keep an eye on some of these setups. So there you go. Uh, I think technically, Hank, if I were a vegetarian zombie, wouldn't I starve to undeath or non-death? Because I would already be the undead, so that might happen. Does anybody remember? This is totally off topic, but do you guys remember the old cartoon from back in the day, the Vampire Duck? I can't remember what it was called, but this was from forever ago. And the duck was a vampire, but he was a vegetarian, so he couldn't eat, and it was this whole big drama. So Count Duckula or something like that. I forgot what it was. Anyways, good times. Okay, so here's our euro dollar. I mentioned. Okay, good. Glad we have one that remember. The disco, yeah, it's something. It was something duck. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember and there was the big, like, kind of fat duck that was the housekeeper or the bird. I don't know. Anyways, totally off topic, but funny show from forever ago. Euro dollar. I talked a little bit about the euro dollar going into the weekend and a little bit, latter part of last week, how I was starting to get I was getting a little bit undecided on how bullish or bearish I was getting, because the euro dollar, as you can see now, here is that nice little spike, and then half of this week, and then a whole 1 week here, and a whole 2 weeks here, and a whole 3 weeks here, and then we're going into another week. And so now we have like this month-long total sideways euro dollar garbage, and it's just doing nothing, and so we have to decide what we want to do with this. Yeah, I hear you, Tom. I hear you. So euro dollar is just getting pretty choppy. I'm getting pretty enthusiastic about trading it, because it's just kind of getting messy. It's just really sideways. There's a lot of nothing going on here. The whole last half of September and now the first half of December is just good grief, of October, is just totally sideways. We've got a couple of big candles here and there, but it's just kind of, it's just not really doing too much. Two things to point out, to remember. As far as daily pivots go, I don't imagine we're going to have too much of a crazy daily pivot. Let me go back and double check and refer to the pivots that Tom has posted for us. And I'm going to actually just copy and paste these, because I have to scroll back and see them. So for everybody that wants to see those as well, including myself, and pesos puppies right there. Okay, so the pivots, so we have 135.67, so yeah, so nothing too major, because we've seen the euro dollar kind of run up and pull all the way back and do all that stuff. So it's pretty choppy. It's broken out of this descending trend line right here, which was pretty nice, but it's right back inside again. So that doesn't give us a ton of confidence. It did break above the Friday high and ran up, 15 pips, not too much, and it's right back down. So the one thing that we have to be careful with, markets look like they're going to be a little consolidated and a little congested still, so we need to trade breakouts that are very, very close to the levels, that there's been consolidation around these levels. And you can see that we've had some pretty good consolidation. Here's the 200 moving average on euro dollar. Right below current market price, and everything's just kind of bouncing around here. So if we break this ascending trend line, and more importantly, the weekly low so far, which is the low of just the last several hours, and there's a little bit of, there's a lot of stuff going on at this 135, 45, 50 area. You can see that we've tested it here, and then we've tested it here, and then we chopped around it on Friday. And then once again, we've tested that 45 just several hours ago to start the open of the market. And remember, we have that missed weekly pivot down there that's back there a little ways. So if we break below about 135.45, I would consider getting short about 135.40, because again, that 50 level is kind of a crucial one. So we start breaking below that, and I think it gets to be a pretty interesting little setup, and we might have a run into back into the weekly lows and back towards this 134.50-60 area, and then potentially start a move down into our weekly pivot there. But I think that's going to be a bit of a run, especially if we get down to this 134.50-60, because now we've got the 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart overlapping that. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So I'm just going to be looking for the break below this 135.45 for an opportunity to get short for maybe only 30 or 40, possibly 50 pips. So there could be a decent move in there, but I don't think it's going to be a huge one. otherwise, this could potentially be a nice area to get long against. We could get long against this. I'm not going to say absolutely let's put a pending order. I want to watch price action. I want to see how candlestick and price patterns are forming here, and if so, we may be able to get long against this because we do have some good support there. There's a weekly pivot, 200 moving average, weekly low, all of this stuff. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this. I'll post a pending order when and if the opportunity arises, and I'll make sure to, of course, notify everybody on WhatsApp and on Twitter about that. So just a little update on euro-dollar. Possible trade coming up, but not the most likely, but it's definitely a possible entry coming here. Okay, pound dollar is looking pretty good. Now, I only had a couple of minutes. I was looking actually at the pound dollar and the pound yen earlier today when I sent out that chart on the pound yen, and it was a nice little setup, and it's paid out very nicely. And the other thing that I was looking at was absolutely, positively, definitely this 160.20 area. And I remember, or as you guys may remember, I talked about it a little bit last week as well, because 160.20, we have this nice little double top here, and if we run the fibs down to the lows, you can see that 160.20 is also a perfect overlap of the 50% fib. So we have a really good level right here. We tested that last week, and then we've just tested again this week. So fib level, 200 moving average, and we ran up to that 160.20, and we've come off it by a pretty good little amount there, by 50 pips or so. Okay, hold on here. Let's stop the charts for just 2 seconds and restart them. Let's see if that works. Okay, we're having some fun technical issues. All right, pound dollar now. Everyone see that pound dollar? Okay, so anyways, that was the entry that I was looking at, watching for, keeping an eye on. But again, I just didn't have enough time to send it out. So it's not, no fault, nothing here. That was just a nice little level to bounce off, and it did bounce off it very, very nicely. So now our question here on the pound dollar is, what are we going to do for the moves coming up? I still love the break of this 159.10 area, and you can see, remember our low right here, 159.10. So an entry at like 159.00 to short the pound dollar, I love. Now, we're not super far away from that area. We're only about 50 pips away, but it has run down 50 pips in the recent move here. So probably no super urgency to post that pending order to short the break of 159.10. But I think that's going to be a good area to break, and I think the pound dollar is going to be headed into that. You can see that we have been staying in this ascending channel for some time now. And then it's, we kind of have a bit of a head and shoulders pattern right here, and then it's really started to kind of consolidate on this trend line. And this is a sure sign as we start to consolidate on a trend line that's been tested several times over the last couple of months. It's consolidating on that. It's slowly breaking out of that. That's a sure sign that if we can get below this 159.10, then we're going to have a nice run, probably down into that 38% fib, which is about 157.00. So we have a 200 pip love. Hank, I read your message right as I was thinking. We have a 200 pip move that will show us some nice love on that breakout right there. So I'm definitely looking for the break of 159.10 on pound dollar. But do we have to wait for that in the meantime? What can we do? What is a possible entry? What's a possible move? Now, one thing to remember on the pound dollar is we still have a couple of missed weekly pivot points. So 158.60 area is a good one, and then we still have this guy way back here, 156.10. So we have some nice missed weekly pivots. I actually like quite a bit. If we can get some sort of maybe double top or something right here, I would short against 160.20 once again if we can get up a little bit closer to that. So currently we're 50, just about exactly 50 pips away from that high. So if we get some retracement of between 25 and 40 pips, 25 and even 30 pips, get us back up to this 160 area, then I would feel pretty good, even 159.95-ish, right around there. I'd feel pretty good about shorting against this high and trading down into that 159.00 area. Now, last thing to say about 159.00 is that from the low to the high, that is the 23% fib. And remember, when we cross that 23% fib, our likelihood of making it to that 38% fib, or the 200 pip movement is very, 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 very high, and so that's a really nice run. So the only thing I'm going to be looking for is a little bit of a spike up to short against 160.20. Otherwise, I'll be looking to trade the break of 159.10 on pound dollar. Once again, guys, remember, if there's any technical problems or anything, this recording is also, or excuse me, this wrap-up session is also recorded, and I will post that. One other thing to remind you of before I forget and get off topic here, for members, remember, for all the members here, if you go to the members page area, you go to members login. Of course, you got to get logged in there. If you go to the once you're logged in. If I can get logged in here, so once you're logged in here, you'll see on the members pages here, you'll see daily wrap-up sessions. So I'll always have them posted in the chat, but I will also have them in the website. So if you guys want to get to the website, there will be the video there, so you can see the videos. There's October 10th, October 9th, October 8th. You just click right there, and that'll take you to the video. So they'll be posted in the members pages under daily wrap-up sessions. So questions on that, let me know. But this will be posted there as well as in the chat. Okay, back to the charts. Aussie dollar is the only thing that I'm super interested at the moment on the Aussie dollar is we're approaching a multi-month high, which just so happens to be the 200 moving average on the daily chart. So that's always a tough level to work with. You can see that we came just shy of it back here by 50 or 60 pips at the high on in September, and here we are back in December testing that area once again. This is a pretty good, nice little run up, a nice little bull flag, and we're continuing higher. If we break this high, which is about 95.25, I don't know how gung-ho I'll be about getting long on this because of that 200 moving average. Now, one more thing I need to look at here is I need to just remind myself how the fib levels are looking on this run right here, and that's the other thing we need to look at. So you can see that on the rundown, the Aussie dollar has tested the 38% fib, bounced back almost to the 23, and it's just about to test that 38 once again. So remember, the runs from the 38 to the 50 are pretty high likelihood as well. 23 to 38 is like almost a guarantee. 38 to 50, less of a guarantee, but very, very likely. But again, that 200-day moving average right there is not making me super confident that I would want to get long against these highs. So I'm actually watching this high. I'm going to look and see if it gives us any kind of opportunity. This could be a perfect double top, or it could be a continuation of this bullish flag type pattern here and a continuation up into that 50% fib. So we just got to kind of keep our eye on that and see how it goes. But so far, I'm just really going to be watching that 95.25 area, and you can see that current market price is about 95.05, so we're only 20 pips off of that level. So let's just keep our eyes out and look for any opportunities that it might break and continue on down. Aussie dollar still has a gap that is not completely filled back here of a couple of weeks, and we've still got a missed weekly pivot that's back here at 91.30 from close to the first week of September. So I don't know. Once again, that's another thing that makes me less bullish Aussie dollar. So we're coming up into a major level, and we could see a big move down from there. So just keep in mind that 95.25 high. Aussie yen, the yen pairs seem to be rallying just a little bit. The Aussie yen has a similar type setup. Here's our high of September, which is 94.40, and we're at about 93.80. So it's about 60 pips or so off of that high. It's a little messy, it's a little choppy, so I'm going to be a little careful with this one. We have a missed weekly pivot back here that's now 125 pips away, so that's something worth keeping an eye on. So I'm going to be looking more for opportunities to potentially short the Aussie yen, maybe against that high, than to do anything else. We should have a nice missed daily pivot on this Aussie yen, and it looks like we do. And we have a nice one on the Aussie dollar as well. Aussie dollar missed pivot is 94.72, and we're at 95.13. So it's a good couple of pips below, and the Aussie yen is 93.20, and we're at 93.80. So they're 60 pips or so away on this Aussie yen. So let's look for opportunities to short the Aussie yen. Again, I don't have a specific pending order on this one, but I'd like to see some opportunities to short against this high and see if we could at least get a run back to that missed weekly pivot and back to this little area and missed daily pivot and all of that stuff that we're going to have. But let's just watch the Aussie yen. As far as the monetary policy meeting minutes coming up, let's watch both Aussie dollar and Aussie yen against those monthly, multi-month highs of on the Aussie yen. It's let me just remind myself here, 94.40, and on the Aussie dollar 95.25. So let's just watch those levels. We may have opportunities to short, or we may have opportunities to trade breaks. So let's just keep an eye on that. Okay, this is the pound yen. This is the chart that I sent out earlier on the pound yen, and it was this little move right here. We have a very strong bullish move, and then some consolidation down, and then a nice continuation up. A nice little pennant here, and it breaks up and makes a nice little continuation up of about 60 pips from the breakout area. So this is what I suggested on the charts here, was just buying the break of this area and a continuation on up, and likewise trading the break of the low here, which was about 156.65. So we never got close to that low, but we did continue nicely above that trend line, and it's run up very nicely here. Hank, I don't use any alarms. You can definitely set up alarms on MetaTrader. I opt for the endlessly gazing at charts for catching movements, but there are alarms. There's ways to set up those alarms on MetaTrader. Just search it on YouTube, and it'll show you how to set it up. It'll text message you. It'll email you. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. Target for the pound yen is going to be interesting because we have a lot of chop here. We've just broken right back above that 157.30 area, so we're 157.50 and change right now. If this can continue up, I think obviously a reasonable target will be the 61.8% fib, which is just about 157.90, which would make for a real nice run from this 157 kind of 15-20 area. So 157.90 should be a good spot, but definitely watch for this 157.50. We're kind of stuck right here. And it's kind of tricky there. If we do end up breaking this 156.65 area, as far as targets go, we're going to have a missed weekly pivot and a whole bunch of support right around this guy right here, about 156.45.50. So it doesn't give us a ton of room there. So this is one of those things where I'll trade the break if it heads down, but I'm going to be keeping a real close eye on that one and see if we get see if we can get through that support level. So it'll be kind of a touch and go a little bit on that lower target. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Yeah, and there's some big resistance there, so for sure. And we've got some missed weekly pivots on the pound yen as well, 157.25. That's about 25 or 30 pips below current market price, so there's going to be a little bit of movement there. So this is really good support. This 156.65 area is really good support. So as far as an entry goes right now, I think let's watch the high. You can see it's consolidating just above this high of 157.50. Back below this, I don't know if I would take an entry on that one. Just basically, if you got in it, hang on to it and see if we can get that run into 157.90. Otherwise, let's look for opportunities to buy the bounce of 156.65 or play the break of 156.65 on the pound yen. So that'll be a good little one to watch for. Euro yen, the only thing I have to say about Euro yen is we have a missed daily pivot and a missed weekly pivot, so let's look for some possible opportunities to short that. We've had a huge breakout here. That's about it. So Euro yen is kind of just that crazy little move right there. Just keep an eye on that missed weekly pivot. Gold's choppy, not doing a whole bunch. Dollar CAD, we still have a missed weekly pivot on the dollar CAD, and we've gotten pretty darn close to it. Remember, this weekly pivot is 104.40, and you can see that we got as high as about 104.19, 104.20, and then we pulled all the way back to that 200 moving average and back to the almost the top of the channel, back to quite a bit of support here at about 103.40, and so we've got nearly we've got about a 90 pip run up into that missed weekly pivots. So one thing that I'm liking on the dollar CAD, there's quite a bit of Canadian news out this week, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. But let's watch the low of the week, which is about 103.40, a break below 103.40, and I will definitely take that sell. I'll be bearish all day long at the break of 103.40. However, I kind of like buying against that low as well. We have kind of a little double bottom right there, and it looks like it might be able to continue up. So 103.40 is the level to watch. I think we have an opportunity to buy against this with, once again, that attempt up into the missed weekly pivot at 104.40. Otherwise, if we break this 103.40, let's short this thing back into lows of last week and even back into this big support level here at 102.67. So we could have a 75 pip run, or I would say that we've at least got a pretty good chance of about a 50 pip run. So 50 to 75 pips if we break that 103.40 on dollar CAD. Otherwise, I think it's an okay one to be buying against. You can see that we're only 12 pips or so off of the low of Friday, and I actually like buying that and getting long on that area there. So keep in mind, dollar CAD still that missed weekly pivot back there. One thing on the euro pound that I like, the euro pound has actually done a pretty good job breaking out of this descending channel here. So we broke out of that descending channel. Nice little move there, and it's been able to open and close a couple of times above the channel, above that monthly high right there, which was around 84.75. You can see that we're only at about 84.87, so we're just literally a couple of pips above that. There's some long wicks, and there's definitely some hesitant buyers here, but I think above this level we may have that opportunity on the euro pound to start trading back towards that missed weekly pivot that's all the way back here at about 85.45. So 85.45, here we are at 84, about 85. So we've got a pretty nice run to the upside if we can hold. So I would look at trading as far as low against the low of last week, which is about 84.25, and we're currently about 60 pips away from that. If we can get a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a pullback here, I'd love to get long around this 200 moving average around 84.50. So if we can get 25 or 30 pips of pullback, I would totally get long euro pound and trade up to that missed weekly pivot. So that'll be one thing to keep in mind and keep an eye on. And then as far as all the rest of these pairs go, I'm not super interested in any of the movements that we have in the works here, except for the where are you? New Zealand dollar. So the New Zealand dollar is a pretty nice little run here, pretty good little setup. We've talked about this level quite a bit, and this was 83.40. This was the 83.40 area. We tested this for weeks, and finally on Friday broke above that just a little bit, came down. It looks like we have just a slight missed weekly pivot, so that thing may pull back just a little bit, but I like potentially getting long above 83.40, targeting some of these highs back here of about 84.35 to 84.50 area. So that's going to be an area that I'm watching on the New Zealand dollar to get long. But again, we have that missed weekly pivot. If we hit that missed weekly pivot, by the way, like this thing spikes down and dips down 50 pips or so, there's tons of support right there. That's a great trend line breakout. The 200 moving average is overlapping the weekly pivot. All that area around 8,300 would be super duper to get long right around there. But otherwise, I think we've got a good opportunity to get long against this 83.40 and keep some tight stops. If it gets back below that, get out and look for an entry back closer to that weekly pivot. But I like bullish long buys on New Zealand dollar. The rest of them, dollar yen, we do have a missed weekly pivot there. Euro, dollar Swiss franc, kind of crazy looking. All the CAD, pound CAD and Euro CAD pairs are looking real choppy. Euro New Zealand looking real choppy. Pound Swiss franc looking choppy. Euro Aussie looking pretty choppy. So I'm staying away from some of the craziers for at least now until we get some better movement there. And we have some really nice setups on these other ones coming up. So there you have it, guys. Questions, comments, let me know. But that's kind of what we're looking for going into the week here. So let me know if there's anything I missed, any pairs you guys wanted to look at that I skipped. And I'm going to record this, post it, and I'm also going to post notes and some updates in the notes area of the levels that I'm looking for. So I'm going to start this, and thanks for being on, guys, and I will answer all your questions right now.